I see a cup in your hand. But before that, I'd like to introduce myself again. I'm Ramanuj Kashyap. On paper, I'm an audiophile, but I'm one man and many men at the same time. And here is my friend Croydon, once again with another filled cup. So, what do you have this time?
This time it's peppermint tea. And like you told me, this does have a soothing effect. Yeah, so far I'm enjoying it. I mean, I like the fact that you warned me to wait for it to sit for a while, and then you squeeze the bag to get the flavors. And I think it's done quite a great job, because I'm really enjoying this one. Yeah, so it's tasty.
Sometimes we find ourselves in a box. We could call it a comfort zone. We could call it a limitation. Even staying inside the box can be called a preference of sorts. This carries enormous weight in our very niche, irrational hobby of obsessing over music and gear at the same time, which is audiophilia in general.
Yeah.
So I would like to throw the ball in Croydon's court again, asking this question. We have people buying IEMs by the preferences, targets, Harman target, and the current prevailing JM1 target. Is that a comfort zone, or is that being complacent where you are stagnating yourself?
None of these. I think these are what I call stupidity. I would call immaturity. I would call being ignorant of what the hobby is about. And this, I think, is an extension on our previous topic about being an audiophile. So, first of all, music was never created keeping any preferences in mind. You know, any sound music producer, any sound music composer, any sound music artist, at least those who are sincere of doing what they're doing, would create music out of, or produce music out of their own heart, out of their own will, of their own artistic ambitions in relation to the music. And by restricting yourself to preferring only certain types of musical genres or certain types of sounds, I feel that you are, like you said, putting yourself in a box. But at the same time, you are living a hobby for which you have no intention of coming out of the box. And I think such a choice of limiting yourself is a result of unsensible decisions, unsensible choices, and of course immaturity. Going back to an analogy that I think I've been using in all the previous videos, of a child preferring only candy and chocolate for a meal. You know, so the thing is, when you are in this hobby of being an audiophile, you need to shun your preferences out of the door, or at least the limitations of certain preferences. Now, for example, actually, if you ask me, I have no preferences in genre. I do favor certain genre over the others, and that's a very different thing. Okay, for example, rock. I'm a fan of the retro style of rock. That is, the initial hard rock and the initial metal with bands like Metallica and Iron Maiden and stuff like that. But I'm not much of a fan of glam rock. I'm not much of a fan of death metal. But then again, if somebody tells me like, oh, hey, listen, you need to try this thing. Now, while I don't like it, I would definitely give it a year, because you never know. There have been times when people have told me, oh, listen to this album, and I said to myself, oh, it's not something I usually listen to. But when I've given it a listen, I've gone to HC Tracks and purchased the album. One classic example is Rush. You keep talking about that particular song,
Limelight
in your reviews, and I said to myself, oh, this this band, I've never heard it before, and I really don't know how I'm going to like it. But then when I went on and heard a few previews, and I went and purchased the album, and I liked the album, and I kind of realized that probably Rush, bands like Rush were one of the guys who initiated the kind of rock music that went on to create bands like Dream Theater. So my point is that like limiting yourself to only certain genres or limiting yourself to what you call preferences is something that's not very good for your growth in the hobby. I mean, it's not like limiting yourself to anything is not good for growth in anything in life. Okay, whether it be a career, whether it be your ambitions, whether it be your hobby, whether it be your relationships. And the same thing applies for the hobby. Yeah. Again, like you mentioned, curves and sound signatures, and I can't understand where the hell is this nonsense come from, or how does it apply to an audiophile? Because if you're telling me that people have created curves and sound signatures because from a commercial point of view they want to create products which match a majority of what people like, then fine, But then again, the majority of what people like, the majority of the people who like whatever from which they've come with the curve could be a bunch of, ignorant people who don't really understand and appreciate music as it is. So I can't fathom the idea of basing my sound, which I listen to, basis a bunch of guys who have liked a particular way music sounds. And that's why I don't dwell in this topic of sound signatures. I don't dwell in this topic of like preferred sound or graphs or whatever, because I think that's more of an academic thing. It's got nothing to do with the practical application of the hobby of being an audiophile.
Again, I'm someone who does believe in graphs as much as I do believe in EQ, but again, my take on graphs is something different. Before we actually watch the film, what we get is trailers of the film. To me, graphs are just like that. It's a mere small glimpse into what your gear might sound like. I might be interested with the graph, I might be disinterested with the graph. But let me say that I'm interested with the graph and I buy the IEM and I end up liking it. What do you have to say about that? That I made my purchase decision based on a graph. And it plays in my favor. Keep that in mind.
So let's say we use this analogy of a trailer. Again, the trailer are just glimpses of the movie and not necessarily the story of the movie. And the big problem with that is probably the trailer doesn't encompass the entire essence of the movie. So when I watch a trailer, the only thing it does is gets me kind of excited and puts me in a position to look forward to the movie. But very rarely do I base my decision of watching a movie basis a trailer, because I, in my maturity, understand that the trailer is just glimpses of the movie to, from a commercial point of view, to tell me that all right, this is more or less what the movie is going to contain, and I go and watch it. And I come from a generation of people who never got to see trailers for the movies they were watching, because we only seen movie posters, and the next thing the movie is released in the theater and then it's released on VHS. So trailers by itself had no practical like application or practical sense to me in the first place. So where I'm concerned, it doesn't relate to my audio experience, because it's the same thing. I have no reason to have preferences in listening to music, because my focus is the music. For example, jazz, pop, rock, classical. Okay, they sound a particular way. They have a certain structure. Whatever I might throw at it, more or less, will encompass that structure, will encompass the sound. Where it'll differ is a few aspects, as in where some of the instruments lie in the recording, and how it modifies that recording a bit, which again is no problem for me. Yeah, I mean, I can tolerate if the mids, which is the heart of the music, is moved a little behind. I can tolerate if the bass is moved a little more in the front, provided it doesn't come in the way of the mids. And same with the trebles. So I can't understand why should a curve direct you or tell you how uh, you should listen to your music. Yeah. Because many a times, and that's one of the dangers, I think, of basing your music choices on these colorful lines. Because maybe a particular tuning or particular graph is something you don't like, but you never know. Maybe the guy who's created the IM has implemented it in a different way, for which you'll be missing out on something that sounds good. You know, and that's where I think this whole idea of this graphs and this, I'm not saying it's useless. It has its use case, but not for audiophiles. It probably has its use case for a commercial aspect, where people are trying to be safe and create an IEM or a headphone, so that they can get bread on the table tomorrow. But on a certain level, I don't think it's really applicable to audiophiles on the whole. It's none of our business to know what a graph or what it sounds like. I mean, I think your only concern should be, how does the IEM reproduce my music? That's all. And in most cases, I mean, I've got over 3 dozen IEMs, and all of them, there are some who may sound close to each other. A lot of them sound very different from each other. And I found that each of these IEMs have a use case scenario where they fit well in some genre. They may not fit well in another genre, but they fit well in another genre. So if I don't have a limitation of sound preferences, then I don't need to limit myself with graph preferences or whatever, tuning preferences. That's my thought on this.
I think you have a very solid point in whatever you have said, even in my eyes, is that there have been instances with me as well where I have found that the graph actually doesn't graph well. It's a common term that we say that the IEM or the headphone doesn't graph well, but when we put it on our ears, over our ears, or in our ears, it's an absolute curveball. Like, the product has blown us away. I think I do agree that sentiment with you on this take, which brings me to another point that we have seen, like when you said that the graphs are useful in an academic point of view, we have also seen that manufacturers were relying on something called the Harman target. Um, it had its base on speakers, then came to headphones, and then it came to IEMs. And now the sudden all new kid on the block is the GM1 target. So I see it, you see it as a limitation, but I see it as even our preferences evolving. And people who have been very deep into this hole, they have said that the JM1 target is a much cleaner, better alternative to the Harman target. And I think it's backed by research, it's backed by science. So, given your philosophical take on this, would you say that the science is being myopic in its approach?
Well, if I'm answering your question right, the science. Let's put it this way: the purpose of the science, for me, is for getting a direction for those who want to create a sound, as a guide, as a reference. Okay, and basis that they will create their sound, or their take on that particular type of sound. Okay, the problem here is with audiophiles. Okay, and I like that. That's where I want to separate it. Okay, I want to separate it. Let the science be with the people who benefit from it, commercially or in terms of guidance or advice, and keep it away from people whose job is to appreciate the music for what it is. Okay. Again, for me, different tunings, different curves are different flavors. Yeah. So, like for Chinese food, the type of Chinese food we get in Mumbai will be different from the Chinese food we get in Delhi. So I can't go to Delhi, or I can't go to Chennai, or I can't go to Calcutta and say, oh, I want the Chinese food that I have in Mumbai, because this is the way it's made here, and there's nothing wrong in it. It's just that I'm not used to it. So all I have to do is appreciate it for the way it is. I mean, let's take, for example, steak. Okay, there are guys who eat their steak rare, medium rare, and well done.
Absolutely.
And somebody who likes the steak well done will kind of wonder, oh, how does this guy eat the steak
That's
raw?
kind of raw to them, huh?
Yeah, but then the guys who eat it raw enjoy it, right? So my point here is, the reason why I don't like steak raw is because I've limited my taste to eating it well done. Maybe if I spend enough time having steak
Medium rare, huh?
medium rare, or even rare for that matter, I'm sure after some time I like it. It's same with let's go back to green tea, because I'm sure green tea, or these type of teas here have been prevalent here for a long time. But
Yes.
in a city like Mumbai, these like unaltered teas, as I would call it, have been around only for the last, like, say, 15-16 years. Where green tea came in, and then slowly some of these teas are coming in, like specialized teas. And I remember when I first started tasting some of these teas, I used to wonder, like, oh, how am I going to like the taste? Yeah. But then as I started having it over time, of course, I had my own motives, because when I was having green tea, I was trying to lose weight. So I said, oh, I'll just keep having it, because, I forget the flavor, I'll lose weight with it, the benefits outweigh the taste. But then over time, as I started having it, I liked it to an extent that I stopped having the normal black tea that we do. Similar with coffee. When I started having black coffee, I didn't like the taste in the beginning. But then over time, I stopped having what we have generally, coffee milkshake, and started resorting to having proper coffee, because I developed a taste for it. And now I can taste any type of flavor of beans, black or without sugar, So my point is that as you mature in the hobby, you will learn to appreciate different kind of sounds, referring it to this thing about taste. So the thing is, when people say that, oh, this is the only thing we like, well, that's because you have a limitation. You're not really thinking. You're not thinking the right way about how you should go about this hobby, and that's the problem I have with this whole thing about sound signatures and curves and all that nonsense.
Very well put. Very well put. I think this topic is one of those topics where we disagree on the surface and tend to meet up in a crossroads via nuances, which brings me to a question: what kind of tea would you have next?
Well, see, the thing is, I mean, I liked all the tea so far, but the ginger honey tea that I've been having is too good. I mean, I think I'm going to spend the rest of the day just having that. Yeah.
So you're going to limit yourself to your preferences.
Just cut the video. Okay, done.
Done.